ago, whenever I was going through the police academy, there were 51 men in our class and 4 females. And the way we were housed at the academy, there were 2 guys in each room, and then there was a restroom in the middle, and then 2 guys in the other room. So there were 4 people within a suite, and that's how we lived during the weeks and months that we were there. Well, one day, I had a gentleman that sat right next to me, and then this other one I'm going to talk about was just on the other side of him. And so they were roommates. And the one that sat right next to me, he was, matter of fact, if you look in the dictionary under the word blunt, his picture would be there, I think. But he would just, whatever came to his mind, he would say, and you just kind of have to hold on whenever he started speaking. But anyway, he went to his room after class one day, and his roommate was sitting there on the bed crying. And he went into his roommate and he said, "What's wrong with you?" And his roommate said, "I just got off the phone with my wife, and she told me that she's leaving me." And this guy looked at him and he said, "Well, let me tell you, I've only lived with you 3 weeks and I'm ready to leave you too." And so anyway, you have to be able to appreciate the bluntness of some of those things. Well, my name is Richard Coleman, and I'm the pastor at Shepherd Church of the Nazarene in Lexington, South Carolina, and it's great to spend just a few moments with you today. Paul is talking to Timothy. Timothy is a young pastor, and he's got a church, and he's trying to figure out how to develop leadership and what he needs to do, and people are trying to go in different directions about what their beliefs are, and so Paul is trying to help him in some of those ways. I get the impression, reading between the lines, and I understand, because this is 1 Timothy chapter 2, the very first part there, so you can read it and make up your own mind, but I get the impression that Timothy has some people that are really giving him a hard time, because Paul says this to Timothy. He said, "Timothy, pray for all people." And so that just strikes me as the fact that there's a couple in there that maybe Timothy is praying for them, but maybe he's praying that they get struck by lightning or something. I'm not sure, but Paul kind of emphasizes. He said, "Timothy, pray for all people." And then he goes on beyond that. He puts more emphasis. And he said, "Ask God to help them." In other words, not a bolt of lightning, not a flower pot to fall off the wall and hit them in the head. Pray that God would help them. I can't help but give fault to the fact that Timothy has shared with him, "Man, I've got this person in my church that is just running me up one way and down the other and rubbing me the wrong way and making life difficult for me." I get the impression that Timothy has complained a little bit to Paul, and he said, "I need help." And I'm not thinking that Paul gave him the advice that maybe Timothy wanted. Maybe Timothy was thinking that Paul would say, "Well, just run them right out of church," or just tell them to take a hike, but that wasn't what Paul said. Paul said, "Pray for all people and ask God to help them." And then he went one more step beyond that. He said, "Give thanks for them." I was having a discussion with a young pastor one day, and he was talking about church board meetings. And apparently he had some board meetings that he did not feel very comfortable in because people had differences of opinion. And he told me, he said, "Well, I'm going to tell you," he said, "when I have a board meeting, I do my very best not to let anyone on my board speak. I try to just handle the business, let them vote, and then dismiss." And I told him, I said, I really feel like you're going about that the wrong way. I said, your board members, they're the leadership in your church. Each board member should speak in every board meeting. You should intentionally give them an opportunity to be able to speak. I said, because you need to hear the voices and you need to hear the diversity, and they need to be able to hear each other so that they can make competent decisions. It's really easy for sometimes if someone is a little more forceful than someone else, that we can say, "Oh man, I wish they weren't there, or I wish this, that, the other. But Paul is giving good advice. He says, give thanks for all of them. If someone has a strong opinion, that's a good thing. Listen to their strong opinion. But it's important that we listen to all of the opinions. And Paul says to do that. Pray for all. Ask God to help every one of them, and give thanks for all of the people. You know, I think about that scripture that we know so well, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son for whoever believes in him. And it's not just the people that are real quiet about their opinions. It's not about the people that are forceful with their opinions. It's not about the people of this nationality or what. It's whoever believes in him. I think maybe Paul had that in mind whenever he was writing this. Whoever believes in him, that is who God sent his Son to die for. Well, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you. May you truly be able to pray for all people throughout this week. Thanks for taking the time and viewing today.